So, okay, so what is it that really captured you about this idea of kings and babies? And or you were talking a little bit about the idea of why people treat babies or children like princes and princesses.
Um, I just realized that many people, many parents feel about their kids as reincarnation of themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
many parents secretly want to be this princess and prince and kings and queens. So they try to create for their own kids this territory of the ultimate freedom where all of their desires is fulfilled and all their wishes are
I see.
kind of, yeah.
So it's like a vicious cycle. You want to achieve this state of perfection, and that's why paradise is imagined as a garden. Playing as a child in the garden is like the only experience of perfect freedom that you actually have.
Yeah, and it's also a very kind of fulfilling relationship between parents and kids, and many people feel about possibility to have kids as a something that really like important part of their life and happiness. But also for the society, it's a kind of questionable practice because, for example, Soviet Union partly was collapsed because the ruling class, nomenclatura
Mm.
apparatiki, wanted to privatize public resources, not because they wanted even to have more power, because they already had all the power in Soviet Union, but because they wanted um, introduce inheritance rights, and
Yeah.
also in the U.S. Yeah,
Well, right.
the
I mean,
same in the conservative
that's
revolution.
what social class is, isn't it? I remember thinking about this when I was writing the book about anarchist fragments of an anarchist anthropology. That kinship. People talk about kinship as if it's a sort of old-fashioned thing that applies to kinship-based societies. That we're not a kinship-based society. Well, then we talk about social problems. You talk about race, class, and gender. All of them are about kinship. But the difference in terms of class, the difference between a bunch of guys who got rich or did well and a social class is that they managed to pass it on to their children.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if you don't have kinship, you don't have class. It's evil. But of course, everybody wants to take care of their children and make sure their children are guaranteed a happy life or to be like them, and what seems
or
like,
better than them. Yeah, like
yeah,
immigration is always
have it
saying.
easier than them.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
immigration is. I didn't. I came here only for my kids. That's what all
Mm-hmm.
immigrants will
I'm going to
say.
suffer a bit there. Yeah, and there seems to be this ritual, sort of secession that the first generation comes and works in the factory so the second generation can get a professional job or become doctors and lawyers so that their children can then go to become poets or do what they really like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's some kind of strange cycle in this, the very idea of the family and the childhood and the care in this
Mm.
case.
So care is transformed into this force that divides people. Yeah, yeah. One of the things I've been looking at and just thinking about is how care turns into a pernicious phenomena, how it turns into almost a form of violence, and there are so many different ways that it happens. But one of them is this. This is the simplest, perhaps, that you can't care equally for everyone, and obviously you're going to care for your own children. Um, Most of all, or most people will. I mean, some people hate their kids, but on the whole, you will tend to, and you're encouraged to. And I think for a lot of people too, having kids is a way of sort of giving up on being selfless towards society at large or other people. People accept incredible injustice. I know that what I'm doing for a living is evil, but I do it for my children. Um, I know that the system is obscene and destructive, but I just think of my children. And especially that's what holds together a system over time, because if you really care about your kids, you want to guarantee them security in the future. But in order to do that, you have to keep the institutional structure more or less the same 20 years from now, whenever it is that you're no longer going to be there to provide for them or take care of them. Um, you need to know that your investment in having them go off and become an orthodontist is going to actually, pay off because they're still going to need them and pay them well. So there is a deep social conservatism that comes out of the kind of future that you envision for your children.